Another rapper federally indicted, and these charges couldn't be more serious. The government claims that rapper Lil Durk ordered a hit on a rival in retaliation for the death of a close friend. The U.S. attorney calls it a cold-blooded murder. The twists and turns of this case can get a little complicated, but we're going to talk about it all with an attorney who has a lot of experience defending high-profile rappers. To talk about this legal trouble that's now facing Grammy Award-winning rap artist Lil Durk, because he was arrested in Florida and charged with being part of a murder conspiracy that crisscrossed the country. Prosecutors allege that the rapper ordered a hit from Chicago on a man in Los Angeles. So it's a little bit of a convoluted story, but we're going to try to make sense of it for you. We have 32-year-old Lil Durk, whose real name is Dirk Banks. He started his rise to fame in 2010 when he started a rap collective called Only the Family, or OTF. His most well-known songs are All My Life with J. Cole, Broadway Girls with Morgan Wallen. His feature part in Drake's Laugh Now, Cry Later has really brought him up to attention. But last week, U.S. Marshals had stopped Banks from leaving the country at a Florida airport and booked him into the Broward County Jail. He had been indicted on a charge of conspiracy to use interstate facilities to commit murder for hire, resulting in death. What was this brazen shooting at an LA gas station? And we also have the indictment from the Central District of California. So we're going to be taking information from both documents. What are your initial thoughts on the indictment, the affidavit, these initial documents, and the initial allegations?
So I think that when we look at the indictment itself, what's so interesting is, and this happens quite often. They don't put all and everything that they have in the indictment because they don't have to, right? Either less is more for an assistant U.S. attorney or the U.S. attorney's office. And in this case, I think that's what they did. They gave them enough to know that they know what's going on, but not enough to know everything that's going on. I think obviously there's been some rumors that there's been a snitch among his group that has been wearing a wire for some time. And if that's the case, it's going to be a very difficult case for everyone involved, depending on how much talking there was going on. What I thought was interesting with the indictment is, a lot of things around Dirk basically revolve around funding that he paid for airport, he paid for flights, he paid for hotels, he paid for car rentals, all these things that they utilized in this, quote unquote, murder for hire plot. So that's really where they're tying him in right now. But I think there's going to be more to come. And I think that there's going to be individuals that either will flip or that have already flipped, or there's going to be someone very close to him that was wearing a wire that would be willing to testify as to his involvement. Because his involvement right now is kind of tangentially involved,
right?
Where he's the funder, but there's no direct allegation that he said, hey, this is what I want done. There's an allegation that he spoke in code and he could have said this and all these different things, but there's no allegation that says, hey, this is what he said and this is what was going to happen.
There's a little bit of background on this case, and it really starts in 2020 because that is when Banks was with his friend and fellow Chicago rapper King Von at an Atlanta nightclub. And Von had apparently got into a fight with a Georgia rapper known as Quando Rondo. A friend of Rondo's allegedly pulled out a gun and shot King Von, killing him. Now, authorities say that Banks and his rap collective, OTF, the one I mentioned, they wanted retribution. They wanted payback. So he allegedly made it known that he would pay a bounty for anyone who killed Rondo, who's, by the way, his real name is Taekwon Bowman. Now, in the court documents, he's named as TB. I know there's a lot of different names here, but stick with me. We're going to try to make sense of this. So investigators say that in 2022, so this is 2 years after that Atlanta shooting of King Von, a plan came together to kill Bowman. The criminal complaint that was filed against Banks includes an affidavit from an FBI agent, the leader of the Chicago-based rap collective known as Only the Family, or OTF. In addition to OTF's status as a rap collective, I know based on the investigation that OTF also acts as an association, in fact, of individuals who engage in violence, including murder and assault, at the direction of Banks and to maintain their status in OTF. For example, based on evidence collected during the investigation, including the interview of one of witnesses, I know that Banks put a monetary bounty out for an individual with whom Banks was feuding named TB. And then there's a footnote at the bottom of that page that reads, due to serious safety concerns, this affidavit does not provide the identity of these witnesses. Based on the FBI's investigation, I know that witnesses and or their family members have already received threats and or have been contacted in what appears to be attempts to influence their participation in this investigation.
Witnesses are either contacted or witnesses are offered a monetary amount not to testify. And sometimes that comes with a civil case. Like if there's a civil matter that's outstanding, they might say, hey, listen, there's a civil matter that you could have, and we're going to give you a settlement of XYZ. The feds automatically take that as you're buying off a witness. So it just depends on the facts of those circumstances. Like, I've seen it many times where the feds read into it differently